Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Salam. And thank you very much for your patience and apologies for the short delay. Today's focus of the COP29 Presidency Press Conference is the Energy Day. We have, following this press conference at 2 p.m., is a second press conference on peace, relief and recovery. So if you want to stay at 2 o'clock in the same room from the COP presidency. We'll begin now with opening remarks from COP29 presidency lead negotiator Yalcin Rafiev, followed by opening remarks from the Minister of Energy of Azerbaijan, Parviz Shabasov, and short remarks by the IEA Executive Director, Dr. Fatih Birol, and IRENA Director General, Francesco La Camera. And finally, COP29 Presidency Action Agenda Lead, Ms. Jala Ibrahimova. Let's get started. Presidency Lead Negotiator Yalcin, you have the floor.
Thank you, Alexander. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for joining us for this press conference. It's a pleasure to be joined by our dear friends from the IEA and IRENA, Fatih Birol and Francesco La Camera, as well as my dear colleague, Minister of Energy, Parviz Shabasov. Before taking questions, I would to provide an update on the progress we have seen over the last day. And my colleague, Jala Ibrahimova, will discuss today's thematic day on energy. We will host a further press conference at 2 p.m., as Alexander mentioned, in this same room to discuss peace, relief and recovery as a thematic issue for today. I'd like to commend Jala and her team for the work they have done in such a short time. We had only 11 months to prepare this COP. They have put together an extensive agenda that supports our overall plan to enhance ambition and enable action. And it takes forward many of the outcomes of the first global stocktake. On the negotiations and NCQG, yesterday you heard my call on the parties to use the precious time we have wisely. We called on them to talk to each other directly and take ownership of building bridging solutions. I'm glad to report that we have seen encouraging signs that the parties are starting to engage with each other on different elements of the goal, particularly those considered low-hanging fruit. However, we must be honest. We believe that the pace of their work is currently too slow. We cannot afford to leave too much ground to be covered later in the summit at the political level. We are urging everyone to intensify their engagements and remain focused on the imperative to make quick progress. Friends, yesterday we saw stakeholders from across society show leadership with commitments to finance tangible climate action, most notably at the COP29 Business, Investment and Philanthropy Climate Platform. The Asian Development Bank announced $3.5 billion in funding for a new program to help counter the impact of melting glaciers. The bank's efforts on sustainable water and food security will have real impacts for those threatened by glacial melt in fragile mountain regions. Azerbaijan's banking sector stepped up to support the just transition and better guide investments to green projects. The Azerbaijan Bank Association pledged $1.2 billion for green and sustainable projects. And the Central Bank of the Republic of Azerbaijan introduced a new green taxonomy for sustainable investments. I would also like to recognize Canada for their commitment to climate finance to build climate resilience. The government of Canada has announced $1.5 billion climate platform to support adaptation with a special focus on LDCs and seeds. And 9 Canadian foundations and philanthropists united to pledge $290 million for climate projects over the next decade. We thank our colleagues from Canada for their leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, the COP29 presidency has worked to gather all stakeholders to make progress on the outcomes of the global stocktake. And as the COP president said in his opening speech, mitigation is a clear priority. But far too often, sustainable solutions are unaffordable and inaccessible to countries that need them. We welcome the pledge by development finance institutions to support the deployment of renewable hydrogen projects in emerging and developing countries. And we are confident that 10 gigawatt lighthouse initiative will help to overcome barriers such as financing gaps and market access. My colleague Jale will speak to how the presidency is making progress on mitigation within its action agenda. We have worked with partners throughout the year to convince stakeholders on mitigation, from the COP29 IEA dialogues to the US, China, Azerbaijan Methane Summit earlier this week. Ladies and gentlemen, we must maintain momentum. With each success, we are delivering impactful climate action for people around the world. We have just over 1 week to go. Now is a time for cooperation, determination, and leadership from everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Minister Shabazov, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Dear guests, distinguished members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to extend my warm welcome to each of you on Energy Day, held as part of COP29, hosted by Azerbaijan. It is a great pleasure to share with you today, through this international press conference, COP29's energy initiatives, the green energy projects Azerbaijan is implementing, and the crucial role these initiatives play in the global energy transition. Today we presented at the ministerial level 3 major initiatives consisting of 5 components with the COP platform. The first initiative, the Green Energy Pledge, is based entirely on Azerbaijan's experience and promotes the creation of green energy corridors and green energy zones. The second initiative, the Global Energy Storage and Grids Pledge, aims to increase global energy storage capacity 6-fold to 1,500 gigawatts by 2030 and add 90 million kilometers of grids by 2040. Our third initiative is the COP29 Hydrogen Declaration. It is about standards and regulation for hydrogen, which is, in my opinion, extremely important at this specific juncture. In addition to positioning Azerbaijan as a country engaged in the regional projects to develop and export of renewable energy, these initiatives create unique opportunities to accelerate the global advancement of clean energy. They enable large-scale transmission, the connection of distant potential of energy sources with consumption centers, the balancing of supply and demand, and the integration of substantial green energy capacities into the grid. COP29 calls on all countries to join these commitments, strengthen our energy transition and climate action, and come together to build a sustainable future for our planet. Ladies and gentlemen, COP29 was marked by significant achievements that underscore Azerbaijan's commitment to the green energy transition, and I would like to bring some of them to your kind attention. So we laid the foundation for the first industrial-scale solar power plant of 240 megawatt in the green energy zone of East Zangezur in partnership with BP, where SOCAR also was the part of the project. This plant represents the largest direct foreign investment in this area, and this project is devoted to the decarbonization of the oil and gas industry of Azerbaijan. We held the 9th meeting of ministers of energy on the Caspian-Europe Green Energy Corridor and reviewed the preliminary results of the project's feasibility study and decided upon important issues. And we are progressing very well in this specific issue. At the same time, an agreement was signed between the governments of the Republic of Azerbaijan and the Republic of Kazakhstan and the Republic of Uzbekistan on strategic partnership in the development and transmission of green energy on the level of the presidents of 3 countries. At the same time, the documents were also adopted to ensure Saudi Arabia's participation as a key partner in this trilateral project. In addition, 3 agreements were signed with 6 Chinese companies, and 3 more documents will be signed tomorrow on cooperation in the field of renewable source of energy, storage systems, and energy efficiency. Azerbaijan announced its hydrogen strategy yesterday and signed a memorandum of understanding with the International Atomic Energy Agency on cooperation in energy planning within the context of the Paris Agreement. Today, we will hold the launch for the Eco-UNIDA Clean Energy Center in Baku. Tomorrow, the financial close for the 2 solar power plants with a total capacity of 760 megawatt of Masdar and Sokar is expected to take place. The results of the first auction for 100 megawatt solar power plant will be announced on November 21st. Under the direct organization of the COP29 presidency and in partnership with international collaborations, 20 plenary sessions and total of over 40 events are devoted exclusively to energy topics. All of this showcases Azerbaijan's determination in the energy sector and its steadfast commitment to global solidarity for a sustainable green future. The COP29 initiatives represent important steps towards sustainable energy future, not only for our country, but also for the entire world. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all who have joined us in this journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. We continue with a short statement by Dr. Mirov.
Mr. Minister, dear lead negotiator, Mr. Rafiev, my friend Francesca Lacamara, Mrs. Ibrahimova, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you in this Energy Day. I am thankful to COP29 presidency and the Azerbaijan government to have a specific day on energy and make it so rich and so lively, covering many aspects of our energy world. So very many thanks for that. And I'm very happy to hear from Mr. Rafiev the commitments, financial commitments from countries, multilateral organizations for fostering clean energy developments, especially in the emerging and developing countries where we need it the most. But of course, as we are discussing, and we'll be discussing, we need more of them on a more structured way for the clean energy transition of emerging and developing countries. Dear colleagues, Mr. Minister already highlighted some of the initiatives. I would like to pick up one of them, which I believe is really an urgent one, and therefore I fully support the COP29 presidency for calling for action for having a global target for investments for the grids, investments for the battery storage. The reason why it is urgent is the following. This year, dear colleagues, there was a record. 670 gigawatts of renewables were added to the global grid. 670 gigawatts. It's a huge growth, and we have never seen such a big growth. This is good news. But there is 3,000, almost 5 times of what we have added this year. 3,000 gigawatts of renewables are ready to be added to the grids, but we don't have the grid capacity in the world. So the plants are there, but we are not able to bring it to the consumers, to the homes, industry, and buildings. This is economically, this doesn't make sense. Because up to now, the world has focused on building the clean power plants, but we forgot that we need grids to bring it to the consumers. Now we are trying to make it up, and therefore to put a target, a pledge would definitely incentivize and give a direction to the governments. And the same one in the same pledge, having a battery storage is important because, as we all know, renewables are great. they are clean, they are getting cheaper and cheaper, but we still have the challenge of they are not with us 24/7. So it is the reason we have to store them through batteries, to do hydropower, different ways, so that we can use them much more and much more efficiently. Therefore, having a storage target would make perfect sense. In that respect, together with the pledges or call to action for the green corridors and hydrogen, I believe this makes perfect sense, and I am thankful to the COP29 presidency for taking this pledge up. Thank you very much, and over to you, Mr. Moderator.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I hand over to Mr. La Camera, please.
Buongiorno, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Great pleasure to be with you on this press conference. I try to focus on this half day that we have spent largely with my friend Shabasov in the different meeting. First of all, I think that the first news can come from this morning is this overwhelming support for the initiative of the presidency of COP29. So I can congratulate the minister for this on these three pledges that as John mentioned. So green storage, green corridor, and hydrogen. I think that this is really fitting in the context of the narrative of ARENA for accelerating the transition, the energy transition. As you may have noticed in the report that we have distributed and launched during this in the pre-COP and in the COP. So I think that's the most important news for magazine. The second, and we have also this morning launched together with the minister an initiative for Central Asia. This will be in line with the three pledges, and we will try to see how we can let some more money come into be invested here in the region. I think this initiative has been very well received by all the 5 ministers, so there is a large support. It's called Accelerated Partnership for Renewable Energy in Central Asia, economies Africa. I think this is also very good news for this. Concerning storage, and the targets are very much welcome. We have tried to suggest to our negotiator friends around the environment to have a clear target on storage that can be easily used in renewing the indices. So we are calling to have more renewables into the indices. But if we have more renewables, we have to have a storage component on it. We have suggested a kind of golden rule as has been agreed during the G7 in Turin this year. So 1 or 2 to 10 of storage to new installed capacity of renewables. This could be a guidance that could be helpful for in the enhancing of the indices. So really congratulations for this half day of Energy Day. I think these are 2 important initiatives that may have the attention of you as a journalist. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Ibrahimova.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this press conference. My name is Jala Ibrahimova. I co-lead Action Agenda team alongside my colleague Elmar Mammadov. Together, the team has produced an agenda that supports the presidency's vision to enhance ambition and enable action. Agenda draws on convening power of COP and Azerbaijan's own experience and capabilities. It brings together a diverse set of actors from coalitions and drive progress on some of the most pressing problems we face. Today, I would like to talk to you about Action Agenda initiatives that address key priority for global climate action, energy. A separate briefing will be held this afternoon to discuss peace, relief, and recovery. Despite having far less time than most COP hosts, we have made exceptional progress on our Action Agenda initiatives. We comprehensively consulted with parties and other non-party stakeholders on the pledges and declarations before publishing the final versions. The energy pledges and declarations were developed in close partnership with UN agencies, UNIDA in lead, and with UNECE, UNESCAP, and in parallel to the COP29 and International Energy Agency dialogue, which have been running throughout the year. Since we published texts, we have been receiving positive reactions and many endorsements from parties and stakeholders. We are using these days to engage with more parties on declarations, and we hope to make announcements on numbers later in the summit. On energy, we focused on taking forward the outcomes of the first global stocktake to reduce emissions and keep 1.5 degrees Celsius within reach. Our agenda works towards the goal of tripling global renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency, as well as accelerating low-carbon hydrogen production. The initiatives launched today aimed to address 3 key challenges to the just transition: infrastructure, storage, and regulation. First, they seek to reduce barriers between supply and demand by fostering regional cooperation and expanding infrastructure. Second, they seek to increase global energy storage capacity 6 times above 2022 levels, and to refurbish additional 25 million kilometers of grids by 2030 and scale up investment grids. Third, they seek to unlock the potential of a global market for clean hydrogen and its derivatives with guiding principles and priorities. At the same time, we must reduce regulatory, technological, and financial barriers to sustainable solutions in hard-to-abate sectors if we are to meet the climate targets. Action Agenda will contribute by supporting harmonization and development of hydrogen markets as a low-carbon alternative. Over the coming years, we urge parties and industry stakeholders that haven't yet done so to endorse COP29 Green Energy Zones and Corridors Pledge, the COP29 Global Energy Storage and Grids Pledge, and COP29 Hydrogen Declaration. Texts and the contact points are available at the official webpage of COP29. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming, and we look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you very much. We have time now for a few questions. Please, if you kindly identify yourself, your media organizations, and please wait for the microphone. The lady in the first row.
Thank you very much. Fidan Mamedova, Azerbaijan Television. My question to General Director of IRENA. How do you assess Azerbaijan's alternative energy resource and our cooperation in this area? Thank you very much.
So if I well understood, you wish to have some words on the actual cooperation with IRENA and Azerbaijan. So I think the fact is that we have launched together with the COP29 presidency in the pre-COP, in the wonderful building here in Baku, our tracking report. This is an exercise that started with this presidency, will continue until the 2030. And there I think is a document, and thanks to this collaboration, is giving in some way also recommendation that could be part of the final document here at the COP. This is one of the first moment. The second has been this working together on the APRAC initiative. I think it's important that the recognized leadership of Azerbaijan in the area following the presidency of COP29. This will be, I think, a great occasion to have more renewables into the region. We will work with the countries for working on their planning, and then we will try to transform or implement those plans in facilitating funding for projects. We will have here in Baku in June a first investment forum for Asia. We had last one for Western Africa, and we have been able to have a very good pipeline of projects, close to 4 billion. Hopefully we can get the same result or better result here in Baku. And naturally, there is also the actual collaboration and the usual work of the agency and the council and the General Assembly. I have honestly to say that this collaboration started from the beginning 4 years ago, and this coming on Energy Week and other occasion, and it's very fruitful from our side. I hope it's also fruitful from the side of the Azerbaijan government.
The gentleman in the second row at the aisle.
Thank you. John Ainger for Bloomberg News. First question to Mr. Rafiev. Given it's Energy Day, how do you plan on bringing forward the GST outcomes last year, particularly on paragraph 28 and transitioning away from fossil fuels? And to Dr. Birol, there was a report earlier this week from the IEA warning of a 1 million barrel oil glut next year. We also know that US President Donald Trump is planning on boosting production. Could you just explain what this means for the green transition? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John, for the question. Yeah, Azerbaijan's negotiation agenda is based on a balanced approach to all outcomes across all pillars of the Paris Agreement. We understand the importance of the implementation and taking forward the GST outcomes, including mitigation, adaptation, and on the means of implementation pillar. Through our presidency initiatives that have been outlined already today by my colleagues, we have, from our side, gave the necessary importance, significance to this matter. But at the same time, together with our Dr. Birol, together with International Energy Agency, we have organized several high-level energy dialogues that also served for that purpose. But in the negotiation process, of course, this is a party-driven process. We are negotiating with the parties to find out what could be the best solution. Azerbaijan is very much committed to a balanced outcome package from the COP29, including the mitigation being one of the important pillars.
Just to comment first on the first point, may I take this opportunity to thank the COP29 presidency for 4 high-level dialogues we had throughout the year to have a consensus among the parties. The last one was the beginning of this week with the heads of states, with the prime ministers, of course, with the presidents of COP29. And since you asked oil, we had the CEOs of ExxonMobil, BP, Socar, and the others were also present to have a multi-stakeholder good discussion we had. So many thanks for that. Coming back to the oil, so this is the IEA, is the organization which looks at oil, gas, coal, solar, wind, all the energy sources, and therefore in a COP meeting you get, of course, an oil question, as it is the case, of course, from Bloomberg. The issue is, dear colleagues, very simple. Global oil demand is getting weaker. We have been saying this for some time, and this is mainly driven by the Chinese economic growth is slowing down and the increasing penetration of electric cars around the world. As we had said 15 months ago, this year global oil demand growth will be less than 1 million barrels per day. We were completely right. And next year we also expect the global oil demand will be still around 1 million barrels per day. This compares with the last year, which is about 2 million barrels per day, and the historical average of about 1.5 million barrels per day, showing the global oil demand is getting weaker. And at the same time, we are seeing substantial amount of oil production coming from, as I call them, the American Quartet, US, Canada, Brazil, and Guyana. And we expect next year there will be about 2 million barrels per day oil production coming to the market. And depending on the country's policies, including those of OPEC+, we are, in any case, we are expanding a buildup of inventories next year, which would mean that next year, leaving aside the geopolitical escalations big time, we are going to see a well-supplied oil market in the year 2025. Thank you.
The gentleman in the first row.
Thank you. Seth Borenstein, the Associated Press, for Mr. Rafiev. In turn, today you've seen a letter from Ban Ki-moon, Christiana Figueres, and others saying essentially that the COP process is broken. You have another report that says there are 1,700 fossil fuel interests in here. You've had some issues with France and Argentina. What do you say to people who are saying things are sort of unraveling? And you yourself have said things are going too slow on the negotiation process. Is this unraveling, or is this, how do you respond to all this?
Thank you so much. Yeah, the process has already delivered, the COP process so far, by reducing the projected warming, delivering finance to those in need, and it's better than any alternative, take into account that we don't have any alternative processes. And the multilateral process, yes, we agree that this is under pressure, a lot of challenges, a lot of external complexities, but considering the science and the agenda provided by countries in the NDCs also demonstrate that, we consider COP29 as a litmus test for the global climate architecture. So NCQG is one of the most important outcomes expected from COP29, and the parties need to work together to get this outcome for the sake of humanity. And now the most important is that the parties have come together in this process. We need to make sure that the ambitions match to the means and the pathways that we are agreeing to through these processes. Thank you so much.
The lady here in the blue blazer.
Maria Yevazova, Public Television of Azerbaijan. My question is to Yalchin Rafiev. What has inspired Azerbaijan to move forward the COP Truth initiative? How many countries have supported the initiative so far? What do you hope to achieve through this initiative? Thank you.
Thank you. The main inspiration for COP29 presidency when we put forward the initiative of COP Truth was the Olympic truce. That was a usual resolution that UNGA has been adopting before in the previous years. And there are two major objectives that we want to achieve. First is, of course, the promotion of peace agenda. This is something that we always need. And the second, of course, is to have a significant emission reduction contribution to the global climate action. Just for your information, 5 to 6% of the global emission lies on the military activities. So by countries having their military activities, armed conflicts, they are significantly contributing to the creation of emissions. So far, 132 parties have endorsed the COP Truth appeal that was announced by Azerbaijan, and more than 1,200 other stakeholders, including civil society organizations, faith leaders, prominent personalities, including the former presidents, ministers, UN General Assembly presidents. So this is, for the moment, the status of the initiative.
Thank you very much. We have to close here. The panelists have to run to the next commitment. Thank you very much for today. Please stay in the room. There is a second press conference to start at 2 o'clock. Otherwise, we're going to see each other next tomorrow, same time, 1:15, same place. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, without any problem. Without any problem.
What is going next in your day? What's happening next in your day?
Today, I have now, I have to